Doom 2016 was Bethesda and id Software's final attempts to spark some life into the Doom franchise after the disaster of Doom 3 and the Doom film, whilst also attempting to bring the chaos of the original Doom into modern gaming. They undoubtedly succeeded. Many deemed Doom 2016 as one of the best first-person shooter experiences in a very long time. The rage-filled gameplay and the brutal graphics truly reflected the franchise and made many find new love for Doom. Doom 2016 was extremely graphic and felt like the whole game was one big Mortal Kombat fatality. Doom Eternal makes Doom 2016 look like Animal Crossing. And I'm not talking about the crossover memes. Yes, Isabelle is basically the Doom Slayer, but that's beside the point. This is most likely going to be a long video with lots of spoilers for Doom Eternal. If you haven't played the game and still intend to, stop watching. I fully recommend avoiding all content regarding Doom Eternal and just going in completely blind, because it made my experience so much better to just go in and be surprised by all the new things and discover it all for myself instead of having someone hand it out to me. It's really feeling like the old original Dooms with no one to tell you what to do or how to do it, and you just figure it out for yourself. So I will leave timestamps in the description just in case you want to avoid certain parts or only want to know about certain parts of the game, but there will be timestamps to skip the parts you don't want to see. And this video will be split up into sections. There will be 5 main sections featuring gameplay, story, soundtrack, conclusion, and some final notes from me. The gameplay part of the video will cover not only the campaign and the multiplayer, but also the design. I was considering putting the design section in its own category, but I figured that putting the design of the levels and the characters would fit more into the gameplay rather than its own category. So if you are here for the whole video, sit back, relax, and let's get started. To start off this video, we're going to be talking about the gameplay, but more specifically the design of the game. I know it's not specifically gameplay, but it fits in with the gameplay and it's not long enough for its own segment, so I'm just going to slot it in here. The design of Doom Eternal is flawless and made every original Doom player orgasm simultaneously. They listened to the community and revived the art style and design of Doom 2, arguably the best Doom game. The demons are the exact same as Doom 2, the weapons are the same, and the level design is the same. When I say the demons and weapons are the same, I mean they're the original demons and weapons, but with massively updated 4K graphics and non-pixelated textures. They looked over the weapons and demons from Doom 2016 and saw where they went wrong. I mean, just look at the plasma rifle from Doom 2016. You wouldn't even know it was a plasma rifle if the game didn't tell you as soon as you picked it up. But now, it looks exactly like it did in Doom 1 and Doom 2, showing how truly amazing the original designs were and how they still hold up to this day. They even changed the soldiers' hair to green to match the original soldiers. The world design of Doom Eternal is absolutely stunning. Every tiny thing in the world tells a story. During the first couple of levels on Earth, we can see the destroyed buildings, giant titans, and destroyed robots, which show that humanity fought the demons firsthand and lost. You can really tell that id and Bethesda really put so much care and love into this game when every single new room or environment just takes your breath away and leaves you speechless at how detailed and flawless these environments really are. From the Fortress of Doom to the destroyed Super Gore Nest all the way to Urdak, the Doom version of heaven. Every single level is so massively varied that nothing ever gets old, and exploring the world is extremely rewarding and satisfying. Now let's talk about the focus of Doom Eternal, the campaign. But let's start by talking about what Doom 2016 did wrong. The arena combat was great, the guns were great, but in all honesty, that's about it. It's not a bad thing that that's mostly what Doom 2016 was, because that's all Doom 2016 needed to be. Doom Eternal had better arena combat with the introduction of hidden gore nests for extra challenge, and Slayer Gates, huge arenas which get increasingly harder and really push your skills as the Doom Slayer. These gates can become so hard that people die too much and give up, but every gate is equally as rewarding as it is challenging. The main complaint of Doom 2016, besides the poor story, was the non-arena gameplay. Going between arenas was more of a chore than anything, and it was boring compared to the rest of the game. Doom Eternal massively improved on this by expanding the ways to traverse the levels with dashes, double jumps, climbable walls, pipes to swing on, and destructible walls that open secrets and let you progress through the game. They also added water sections in certain levels which let you swim and add more movement options to keep the game constantly fresh, and some of this water was toxic and did lots of damage, so you were always kept on your toes. To counter this toxicity, they revived the hazmat suit from Doom 1 and 2 and let you be resistant to the toxicity for a certain amount of time. They also added more encounters in between arenas to always keep you active and never let you get distracted, because this game punishes you hard for not focusing for even a split second. All of these made the gameplay outside arenas just as fun as the arena combat itself. The arena combat, however, has been cranked up to 11, with even more enemies like Whiplash and Carcass, returning enemies such as Archvile and Pain Elemental, and so many more. So if you thought you could play through Doom Eternal like you did with Doom 2016, you are very, very wrong. This game will make you, and this game will break you. The developers of this game have tailored the whole experience so they can make you play the way they want you to play. If you play how they want you to play, you'll become better and better, and the game will be even more rewarding when you're able to clear an entire arena without breaking a sweat. However, if you play how you want to play, you will die a lot. Unless you want to play how they want you to play, then I guess that's good for you and makes your life 10 times easier. The developers have even come forward and said they are very happy to make you mad and make you rage, as long as you learn something from it, and you're able to improve and become an even better Doomslayer, which is the case throughout the entire game. The enemies, as I mentioned earlier, have been massively improved. The design is way better, the AI is way better, and the mechanics are way better. In Doom 2016, AI was lacking, with demons just running around, not knowing what to do. The enemies in Doom Eternal, however, are ruthless, never giving you time to breathe. You killed an Archvile and a Mancubus? That's cool, but did you kill a Titan? No? Go on then. And then they'd spawn one, just so you think it's over. And they seem to coordinate their attacks. You'd be fighting a Whiplash and a Pain Elemental, and a Carcass would just place a shield in front of you, making you move around and find new ways of attack. The mechanics for the new enemies and old enemies have also been improved with the introduction of weak points. These are points of the enemies that can be shot off to make them weaker and easier to kill. You can shoot the turret off the Arachnotron, shoot the arms off a Mancubus, and even shoot both rocket launchers off of a Revenant, forcing it to go in for a melee attack instead. As much as the enemies force you to play their way, you can force them to play your way by making them easier to kill and forcing them into new ways to attack, which are easy to manage and helps you take a breather from the constant barrage of the onslaught of enemies that will come your way. The enemies in Doom Eternal are so dynamic with various classes and so many species to learn that you will look like Megamind with all the knowledge that will be branded into your brain throughout your time on this game. The guns in Doom Eternal are massively improved from Doom 2016, with new modifications, new upgrades, and basically new guns entirely. As soon as you spawn, you get the shotgun, the most essential gun in the Doom franchise, none of that stupid pea shooter gun from the previous game. A brutal, hard-hitting shotgun. Moments later, you're rewarded with your first modbot, which grants you one modification for your gun. And you have the choice of sticky bombs or a full auto shotgun. Your choice at this point doesn't matter, because a few minutes later you get another one, allowing you to unlock the other. During this first level, you're presented with the chainsaw, which automatically charges and gives out lots of ammo and health per kill with it. And at the end of the first level, you're given the heavy assault rifle to obliterate your opponents with the modification choices of a barrage of micro missiles or a hard-hitting sniper rifle that instantly destroys enemy weak points. Doom Eternal's guns are all as important as each other, meaning no gun is useless. There's even the return of the super shotgun, which now has a grappling hook. I was thinking, how would you still use a normal shotgun if that's a thing? But I was instantly proven that that's not the case. Whilst yes, the super shotgun does more damage and now has a grappling hook to let you traverse the levels and cling on to flying cacodemons, the sticky bombs on the normal shotgun are amazing and are definitely worth using, because one shot from the sticky bomb on a cacodemon will turn it to the staggered state ready for a glory kill. The sticky bombs even instantly destroy enemy weak points, so it's even more useful than I previously thought. The only weapon I didn't properly use during my first playthrough was the ballista. By no means is this a bad gun. This is probably the best gun, and usually my first choice in battle mode. It just requires extreme amounts of precision that I didn't have time for during my first playthrough. Every shot missed with the ballista was devastating to your ammo, but every shot hit was devastating to the enemy. So if your aim is good, this should be your first choice of weaponry without a doubt. The BFG 9000 also makes a return, being just as powerful and devastating as it has always been, taking up its own ammo type to use. However, another new powerful addition to your arsenal is the Crucible, the sword you spend all of Doom 2016 trying to retrieve. This sword takes up its own quote-unquote ammo to use and instantly kills any enemy you target, so make sure you always have it charged in case a ruthless tyrant happens to spawn in front of you. The dev team also added a blood punch. The standard melee in Doom Eternal is terrible, taking you at least 30 seconds to kill the weakest demon. However, if you get 2 glory kills, you'll be able to use the blood punch. The blood punch is a supercharged melee that instantly kills weaker enemies and sends out a wave of pure power that does a lot of damage and does the same damage to nearby enemies. Doom Eternal has also massively improved the brutality of Doom 2016 and made glory kills that are better than most fatalities in MK11. You can now snap demons' arms and force the bone into their head, and even slam their heads directly into their chest for the most satisfying, entertaining, and hilarious glory kill in any Doom game. One part of Doom Eternal that is a bit of a grey area for me are the boss fights. The main boss fights, which I won't talk about yet, are flawless, with dynamic gameplay, and every hit on a boss feels like a small victory, and the cutscenes after the boss is defeated is a breath of fresh air as you can sit back and reflect on how badass you are for slaughtering these massive bosses alone. The grey area are the mini bosses. You spend a whole level in the game following a guardian called a Doom Hunter. He's the first boss you fight, and he's extremely difficult as he's introduced very early on and is extremely different from what you've already encountered. The fight is hard, but finally you pull through and beat him. You go through to the next area feeling great about yourself. And then 2 Doom Hunters spawn, and you have to fight both of them at the same time, and then they keep spawning later on in the game. This causes lots of problems, as you're never really prepared to see one, but you are forced to fight one when they do arrive. The same thing happens with the Marauder. The Marauder is your equal in the game, testing everything you've learned and having movement and damage to match your own. This boss requires so much brain power to fight, and he needs your undivided attention to beat. This is why he's so hard to kill in arena fights, surrounded by hundreds of other demons. You really have to make sure you kill everyone else first, which is easy to do if the Marauder didn't match your movement capabilities and wasn't the same speed or even faster than you. This made arena combat extremely hard as you couldn't target him with everything else going on, but you were forced to find a way. And finally, for the campaign section, the collectibles and cosmetics. The collectibles in Doom Eternal are amazing and wildly varied, with the chance to find collectible action figures for the Doomslayer's bedroom, cheat codes to make levels easier or harder, codex pages for extra lore, and records with thrashing anthems from past Doom games, past Quake games, and some metal favourites from the dev team. They also added collectibles to upgrade your Slayer in your own way with the introduction of Sentinel cores, which allow you to upgrade your health, armor, or ammo capacity. Modbots to give you weapon modification, Praetor points to improve your grenade skills and environment. They also added the best collectible yet, runes. There are 9 runes in total, and you can equip 3 at a time. Every rune is massively different, giving you extremely varied perks, from faster glory kills to the ability to slow down time whilst you're in the air for more control and to line up your shots whilst you're airborne. The cosmetics have also been massively improved with a level system that may or may not resemble a battle pass, that gives you various title cards, player icons, weapon skins, emotes, podiums, victory poses, demon skins, and of course, player skins. There are some skins that can only be obtained by special means, such as Twitch Prime and Deluxe upgrades, some that can only be obtained through the battle level system, and some that can only be obtained through playing the campaign, which are locked behind special doors that require Sentinel cores to open. Luckily, these cores can be found around each level, allowing you to unlock these special skins and other unlockables hidden behind Sentinel core doors. Now, back to the Slayer Gates. After completing these extremely challenging Slayer Gates, you're rewarded with a special key. Get all 6, and you unlock the Unmaker, the most devastating gun from any Doom game to date. It's an alternative to the BFG 9000, using the same ammo, and is twice as devastating, making all that time and energy worth every second, and it makes the final boss fight a piece of cake. Speaking of unlockables, there's 2 secret unlockables in the Doomslayer's room. There's an old computer with 2 boxes with question marks on. The first one requires you to collect all secret collectibles in all of the levels. It sounds extreme and difficult, but if you do get all secret collectibles, you can now play the original Doom in the computer on Doom Eternal. The second box is locked behind a secret code, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. That'll come in the story segment to avoid spoilers. Bethesda and id Software looked at the multiplayer for Doom 2016, saw how it failed, and instead of improving it, they scrapped it and replaced it with battle mode. This actually kind of disappointed me, as I loved the Doom 2016 multiplayer. To this day, I still stand by it and still believe it's the most underrated multiplayer experience ever. But we're not here to talk about how good Doom 2016's multiplayer was. We're here to talk about battle mode. And if you would like me to do a video talking about all the underrated games, in my opinion, leave a like or a comment and I'll see what I can do. Whilst I was disappointed that Doom 2016's multiplayer wouldn't return, I was really excited to see what the developers had in mind, and battle mode blew me away. At the start, me and my friend Lucas were really excited to see what Bethesda and id would come out with, and we were really excited to see battle mode and even play it ourselves. For those of you who don't know, battle mode is a 2v1 asymmetric deathmatch with 2 players playing as a demon and working together to defeat the Doomslayer. The Doomslayer is equipped with all of his arsenal, but besides the Crucible and Unmaker, and all of the modifications and upgrades that come with them. The developers also added new, more interesting and fun demons to play as, with the inclusion of Marauder, Pain Elemental, Archvile, Revenant, and Mancubus, which have a couple of character-specific abilities, and the chance to summon AI demons and place healing for themselves or a poison field to keep the Slayer moving at all times. They also have an interesting ranking system which depends on how many consecutive games you win. Not to flex, but I'm currently at Demon rank, which is the highest, which means I won 5 games in a row at a minimum. The rest of the ranks are not ranked to bronze, to silver, to gold, to diamond, and then to demon. This rank, however, is global, so if you win 5 games as the Slayer and lose a couple as demon, you will be deranked and will have to get another win streak to reclaim your rank. There's lots of controversy amongst the community, debating whether the Doomslayer is overpowered or the demons are overpowered. Personally, I believe neither. I believe they're both perfectly balanced, and if you have the skill to play the Slayer, or the strategy to play the demons, you will win your games. The whole experience is exhilarating, with every game feeling like an even faster paced Slayer Gate, with the maps being big arenas for the demons and Slayer to fight in mostly close quarter combat. Demons win by killing the Slayer, and the Slayer wins by killing both demons within a minute of each other. The game is split up into rounds, and these games are extremely fast, and games are won by winning 3 rounds. At the end of each round, both demons and the Slayer are able to get an upgrade to make the game easier for them, but if they get to round 4, the upgrades become bigger and better, letting demons summon tyrants in battle and letting the Doomslayer use the BFG. I absolutely love this addition to the game. The developers have made a game mode that will hold up with time and will create the perfect competitive game that will be remembered for a long time. The only problem I have with battle mode is the lack of maps. The maps are extremely varied, with lots of different locations and lots of capabilities for the Doomslayer to traverse the environment. But there's 6 maps. 6. And most of these are just taken straight from the campaign. So if and when Bethesda and id release new interesting maps from places like Urdak, battle mode will be one of the greatest multiplayer experiences of all time. Okay then, this is where the real spoilers kick in. I won't be going really in depth because there's some really good videos that go through it all. However, I will be doing a quick rundown of the story to bring you up to speed. If you wanted to avoid spoilers for the story, now is the time you stop watching or skip ahead to the next part of the video marked below. So let's just go straight into it. After Samuel Hayden steals your crucible and sends you away to an unknown location in Doom 2016, the 3 Hell Priests turn UAC into a demon worshipping cult and begin invading Earth, killing over half of the population. During this time, Samuel went to Earth to show the government his alien technology and started production of giant sentinel robots to fight back. This wasn't enough to keep them back, and humanity cried out for a new hope. This is when the Doomslayer arrives with his Fortress of Doom and combat shotgun and takes a portal down to Earth. The Slayer lands in New York, looking for the first of the 3 Hell Priests. He finds him and decapitates him. The Slayer then finds both of the priests together and presents the head of their dead ally. Before the Slayer can do any damage to them, they are teleported away by the Khan Maker, and the Khan Maker tells you that you can't and shouldn't stop them. This leads to the Slayer finding a new celestial locator in the throne room of his Sentinel King, who tells him that the priests are still of Sentinel blood and cannot be killed. The Slayer is also told that Earth is doomed and cannot be saved. The Slayer takes his locator to the Betrayer, who fixes his locator and tells the Slayer to let Earth go. The Betrayer also gives the Slayer a strange knife that will come in handy later. The locator leads him to a cultist UAC base where the second priest is hiding. However, the priest is protected by the modified demon called the Doom Hunter, which we discussed earlier. After killing the Doom Hunter, and killing 2 more, the Slayer decapitates the second priest. The Khan Maker then takes over the fortress to stop the Slayer from finding the 3rd priest and announces that she's moved into a secret location. The Slayer then turns his attention to the super gore nest that is growing in New York. Destroying this nest will help save humanity and will block lots of demons from going there. After the Doomslayer destroys the gore nest, he continues the search for the final priest. But who else would have that information besides Samuel Hayden himself? The Slayer hunts down the remains of Samuel Hayden and finds his beloved crucible on the way. On his way out of the facility, the Slayer is stopped by the Marauder, who we also discussed earlier. After an extreme fight with the Marauder, he escapes back to the fortress, where Hayden is connected into the system and is able to control the fortress just like Vega. Hayden announces that the only way to get to the priest is to go through the hidden city of Hebeth, in the core of Mars. The Slayer, in all of his genius, decides to use the BFG 10,000 on a UAC base on the moon Phobos to shoot a hole into the surface of Mars. The Slayer fights through the base and makes his way to the BFG 10K and shoots a hole into the surface of Mars and acquires the BFG 9000. The Slayer jumps into a cannon and shoots himself into the city and takes a portal to Sentinel Prime. The Slayer is of Sentinel blood, so he's granted passage straight in. The Khan Maker appears as holograms throughout the level, trying to achieve an agreement with the Slayer, which the Slayer acknowledges by finally coming face to face with the priest. The priest warns the Slayer that killing him will remove all of his Sentinel credits and will turn the Sentinels against him. The Slayer doesn't care. The priest unveils the first real boss of the game, the Gladiator, which the Slayer kills and then proceeds to kill the final priest. With all the priests gone and the Sentinel against him, he has only one target left, the Khan Maker. The Khan Maker needs a new way of absorbing Earth's energy, so she starts to resurrect the Icon of Sin. And yes, that is the final boss from Doom 2. The Khan Maker takes over the fortress again, summons demons to distract him, and drains all of his energy. He counters this by using the Argent energy from the Crucible to power his ship, as the Khan Maker had no idea that he had the Crucible again. The Slayer travels to Taras Nabad, where he would find a new Crucible blade to kill the Titan that is the Icon of Sin. The Slayer travels to Necrovol, takes Vega with him, and uses Necrovol to travel to Urdak, the home of the Makers. The Slayer infiltrates Urdak and uses that little knife from the Betrayer to destroy the heart that is used to control the Icon of Sin, and the Icon goes rogue, and the Makers don't control it anymore. The Slayer sets up a portal back to Earth as the Khan Maker confronts him, and he finally shuts her up. He travels back to Earth, but has to be quick, as the longer the Icon of Sin is on Earth, the stronger he will become. The Slayer fights the Icon, and finally uses the Crucible to destroy his brain and kill the Icon once and for all. The game ends with a speech from the Sentinel King saying how the Slayer's fight is eternal. That was a very quick rundown of the story, and I left out loads of details, such as the history of the Khan Makers and the Sentinels, how the Doom Slayer is the same Doom Marine from Doom 1, 2 and 64, how Vega originated from Urdak, and how the Khan Maker actually wanted to use the Doom Marine to extract more energy from the demons. But as I said before, there are lots of videos that go much more into detail than I can. There's also lots of codex pages, as I mentioned before, with beautiful art and lots of lore to give us more insight to the history of everything in the Doom universe, from the Makers to the Sentinels to the Icon himself. The story for this game was really enjoyable and a massive step up from the story in Doom 2016. The Doom 2016 story was mostly just waking up and finding out what the hell's going on. This game actually gives you a purpose, and even in the ending of the story, in the broadcasts, they talk about how the biblical proportions of the Doomslayer versus the Icon of Sin were extreme, and it really makes you wonder how the human race see the Slayer as a god now. And it really sets up well for the next game, because there's lots of unanswered questions, like the two cutscenes depicting his past, and depicting how he was brought before the priest, and he was made immortal, making him the same Doom Marine from Doom 64. And honestly, they did it really well setting this up. And now, the moment you've been waiting for since the campaign section, the code for the computer. The code is actually Flynn Taggart, which is the Doomslayer's real name as stated in the book series for Doom. When this code is entered, the second box will open and, you guessed it, you'll be able to play Doom 2 on the computer in Doom Eternal. The soundtrack was actually supposed to be the main focus of this video, and I wasn't expecting to do a full analysis of the game. There was just so much to say, but because this video was a little longer than I expected, I'm going to try and shorten it a little. And this will be quite short because I'm not anti-Fantano, and we're only going to talk about how it affects the game. Now we will be talking about the Rush soundtrack instead of the Mick Gordon version, because the Rush soundtrack was in the actual music in the game. Sorry, Mick. The actual soundtrack we got in Doom Eternal was such a downgrade from Mick Gordon's mix. Mick Gordon's mix was so dynamic, and you could really tell he put his heart and demon-killing soul straight into his music, whereas the Rushed mix was so basic with all the sounds fighting to be the loudest. Does all of this affect the gameplay? No, of course not. The music perfectly fits the tone of the game, and these tracks are so metal that you forget these demons aren't real. Lots of this music is actually just atmospheric and the sound of death and destruction with layers of mixed bone-crushing guitar riffs. All of this combined leads to one of the best game soundtracks ever to be produced. Mick Gordon also hired a fleet of metal singers to form a choir that really accompanies the gigantic scale of the game and makes it feel like the game is larger than life. Mick, being the genius that he is, also revived and reimagined our all-time favourites from the Doom franchise, such as BFG Division and E1M1, which have been massively improved to fit the game even better. The tracks in Doom Eternal perfectly combine the atmosphere of hell with the electronic and metal style that's been consistent through all of the games. This combination creates a soundtrack that is as rage-filled as the story and the gameplay, which makes you feel so involved and engaged with the game that no part of the game is boring. Most of the tracks perfectly match the setting and are so interesting and new, but a couple of them are repetitive and can get slightly annoying in between major fights when the music keeps repeating itself. Besides this tiny criticism, the soundtrack is flawless. The soundtrack is explosive and aggressive, and Mick and his choir are super talented, and Mick was easily able to create the perfect soundtrack that I doubt anyone will be able to recreate. Mick Gordon is basically the Doomslayer because he understands the game so well. Now, to conclude and wrap up this whole video, we need to quickly look over what's already been said. The gameplay was all around flawless, with massive improvements and design choices that benefit everyone, and the soundtrack perfectly accompanies it. The story is also amazing, with lots of lore for theorists to tie together loose ends and find out who the Doomslayer is, and what the relationship between the Makers and the Sentinels is. Bethesda and id Software have given the community, as well as the old school Doom Marines, exactly what they want, and found a perfect way to give everyone what they want. Except Mick Gordon. Sorry, Mick. I can easily give this game a strong 9 to a solid 10. The graphics are amazing, the brutality is amazing, the soundtrack and story is amazing. I actually found it extremely hard to find negative things to talk about whilst recording, but to make a proper review, I need to look at both sides of the argument for why it's a good game and why it's the best game ever. That there's no reason why it's a bad game. It's just not. You are lying to yourself. So, my last notes for this game are, you have to buy it and play it as soon as possible. It's definitely worth all the money, and I cannot recommend it enough. The whole experience was just a breath of fresh air from the constant games we're dealing with now, like Call of Duty being done to death and having to remaster their old games, when we're getting brand new Doom content that's just as good and just as amazing as it always was. And honestly, I'm so glad they brought this game out, because it has to be one of the best games I've played in such a long time. It's so reminiscent of the old Halos as well, in the gunplay and in all of its story. It just feels like it's so nostalgic for me, and so nostalgic for a lot of other people, that I honestly can't recommend this game enough. It's so good, it's amazing, and just, yeah, I really hope you do play this one day if you already haven't. Okay, hello to everyone that is still watching. I want to give a big thank you to everyone that has sat through all, if not most, of this video and is still listening now. And even if you just skip past all of the Doom stuff, come straight to this point, just thanks for watching anyway. I hope quarantine is treating you all well, and I know there are talk in some countries of lifting restrictions, so I hope that benefits you all, and I hope you are all coping well in this situation. And I just want to apologise for this video taking so long. As you can see, it was a lot longer than my last couple of videos, and I've had a very eventful couple of days with a lot of distractions, so I haven't been able to edit and record properly, but there's no more distractions, and I do want to start introducing a consistent upload schedule, maybe doing uploads every Friday or Saturday or even Sunday, just sometime over the weekend where people have more time to watch stuff, as most people don't usually work or in school that time. So I just figured it'd be easier if I released then, so people don't have to miss videos. I'm saying this like I have viewers, but in fairness, we have almost doubled our subscriber count since the last video. Last video was on 3, and now we're on around 5, I think. So thank you to the 2 new subscribers who are tuning in. You are more than welcome. And anyone who wants to see more content like this, maybe not such long videos, but shorter videos like this, then please subscribe, turn notifications on, because I'm going to be doing lots of videos like this. Not as long though. This video did take such a long time to make. I've played so much Doom, I've done so much research, I've spent so much time editing and recording and re-recording and cutting out all the bits where I was too awkward to say anything. This video is, like, this part of this video feels a lot more frequent because I've not got a script for this part, because I've had a script for the rest of it and it makes me sound very robotic, but so you kind of have to sacrifice sounding normal when you have so much to talk about where you have to write a script. But I hope it was all worth it, and I hope the audio wasn't so bad where you had to sue me or report me and get me banned for ear loss or hearing loss, not ear loss. And I just want to thank you all so much for watching. I do want to drop one quick shout out to my friend Lucas, who's another really big Doom fan. He hasn't watched this video because he hasn't been able to play Doom Eternal, but I do want to shout him out because he's a cool guy, and he might be starting YouTube soon. So if he does, I'm going to instantly drop his channel. As in, I'm going to start publishing, like, promoting his channel, not as in dropping it completely. See, this is where the awkwardness comes back. And again, I just want to thank you all for watching for like the 3rd or 4th time, because it's been so fun making this video, and it'd feel great if this video did well. Not that it's going to do well because of, you know, how many subscribers I have and how many views I get, but I hope it does better than the last video. That's my only goal. So for the very last time, I promise, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon, hopefully.